In a quiet village where the wind carries whispers of the past and the soil holds secrets untold, a young girl named Gülizar discovers a magical seed. What she plants will grow into more than just wheat. It will awaken the earth, reveal hidden truths, and change the destiny of everyone around her. Welcome to the Whispering Field.
In a small, forgotten village surrounded by golden hills and endless silence, there lived a woman named Gülizar. She was not rich, nor was she poor, but she carried a strange kind of grace, as if her soul belonged to another world. Every morning, before the sun touched the horizon, Gülizar walked barefoot to the edge of her field. There, she whispered to the earth. And the earth whispered back. The villagers thought she was odd. "She's cursed," they said. "She talks to herself, to stones, to wind, to shadows." But Gülizar didn't mind. She knew something they did not. The land was alive and it listened. One morning, as the fog was still clinging to the hills, a traveler appeared. An old man with eyes like rivers that had seen too many worlds. He leaned on a wooden staff, his robes covered in dust and light. "Peace be upon your field," he said softly. "And upon you," Gülizar replied, bowing her head slightly. "Your land breathes differently," the man murmured. "Do you know why?" Gülizar smiled faintly. "Because I speak to it." The old man nodded. "Then you already know what most have forgotten. The earth remembers what the heart says." He reached into his robe and drew out a small pouch made of woven silver threads. Inside was a seed, no bigger than a tear, but shimmering with light. "Plant this," he said. "But remember, it will only grow where truth has no fear." Before Gülizar could ask another word, the man was gone, swallowed by the morning fog. That night, under the full moon, Gülizar planted the seed in the middle of her field. As she covered it with soil, a soft warmth filled the air. And the wind began to hum, as if singing an ancient lullaby. From that day on, strange things began to happen. The field, once dry and tired, became lush and alive. The wheat shone like liquid gold, and the air smelled of rain, even in drought. But soon, whispers began to spread. "The woman has made a pact with something unholy. The field is bewitched." And as the envy of the village grew, so did the mystery around Gülizar's gift. One evening, as the sky burned red with sunset, she heard a voice in the wind, the same voice as the old man's. "Remember, child, the earth gives, but it also takes." Gülizar's heart trembled. She knew that her gift came with a price. But she had no idea what that price would be. The next weeks were like a dream. Every sunrise bathed Gülizar's field in golden light, and the soil seemed to pulse with life. Birds returned that hadn't sung there in years. The village, once gray and tired, began to glow again, but not out of joy. They were afraid. The people watched from behind their shutters, whispering her name like a curse. "She made a deal," they said. "No one's field grows like that without dark help." And when a storm struck one night, fierce and wild, tearing roofs and drowning crops, only Gülizar's field stood untouched. That was when fear turned into hatred. The next morning, a group of men came to her door. Their faces were hard, their eyes like cold iron. "What did you do?" the village elder demanded. "Why does your land thrive while ours dies?" Gülizar looked at them calmly. "I spoke to the earth," she said softly. "And it answered." The men spat on the ground. "Enough of your witchcraft. You'll bring ruin upon us all." They warned her to stop tending the field, or they would burn it. That night, Gülizar sat alone by her window, the silver moon reflecting in her eyes. She could hear the field breathing, alive, whispering to her in voices she couldn't quite understand. Then she heard it again, the voice of the old man. It came from the wind, gentle but heavy with truth. "Every gift of the heavens," he said, "has a price of the earth. What have you given to receive what you hold?" Gülizar trembled. She realized she hadn't offered anything. She rushed outside, barefoot, her hair loose in the wind. The wheat glowed faintly, shimmering with unearthly light. And beneath the soil, something was moving. She knelt down, pressed her ear to the ground. And she heard a heartbeat. It was slow, deep, and ancient. The earth was alive, but something within it had awakened. From that night on, the dreams began. She saw the old man in a land of endless twilight. He stood beside a tree that grew upside down, its roots reaching toward the stars. "The world you see," he said, "is only the echo of the one below. You've opened a gate, Gülizar. The seed was never meant for this world to keep." She woke up crying, the sound of roots twisting in her ears. And outside, her field glowed brighter than ever. Days passed, yet the whispers would not stop. They crept through the village like smoke, wrapping every corner with fear. At the well, at the bakery, in the shadow of the old mosque, people spoke of Gülizar and her cursed land. She brought the storm. She feeds her field with dark prayers. Even her shadow moves before she does. The words grew like weeds, poisonous and wild. One evening, when the sun hung low and red as blood, Gülizar returned from the river. As she climbed the hill toward her home, she saw torches flickering in the distance, a river of fire moving toward her field. Her heart froze. The villagers were coming. She ran to the field and stood before it, breathless, trembling but unyielding. The wind began to rise, swirling around her, tugging at her dress, whispering in frantic tones. It was as if the earth itself was afraid. "Burn it," someone shouted, "before it devours us all." The men raised their torches. Flames danced in their eyes, a mix of fear, envy, and rage. Gülizar's voice cracked as she cried out, "Stop! You don't understand what you're doing." But they didn't listen. One torch fell, then another. The dry wheat caught instantly, glowing not red, but green, like emerald fire. The villagers stumbled back in horror. The flames rose higher, but they made no sound. They twisted and curved in patterns, forming shapes, faces, eyes. And then, the earth moved. The ground beneath them cracked, breathing like a living thing. A voice, deep, ancient, and sorrowful, echoed from below. "You cannot burn what has already become part of you." The people screamed. Some dropped to their knees, others fled into the darkness. Only Gülizar stood still, her eyes wide, tears streaking her cheeks. From the cracks in the earth, roots began to emerge, silver and black, pulsing with light. They wrapped around the field, protecting it. And in the center, where the first seed had been planted, something rose. A figure made of soil, light, and breath. It was neither man nor God, and yet, somehow, both. Its eyes glowed like molten gold. "Why have you woken me, child of dust?" it asked. Gülizar fell to her knees. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted life, for the land, for my people." The figure gazed at her with sorrow. "Life and death are one. To give one, you must take the other. You have given no offering, and yet you took plenty." The truth hit her like a blade. She realized that every grain that had grown at a cost. The earth had taken what was needed, not from her, but from those around her. Every withered crop in the village, every barren field, every dying tree. It was her field that had stolen their life. She covered her face and wept. The voice softened. "You were chosen not to own the seed, but to return it. The earth does not belong to the greedy. It belongs to those who listen." The roots withdrew. The flames turned into falling lights, silent, like stars descending from heaven. And in the middle of the field, the figure dissolved into the wind. When dawn came, there was nothing left but silence. The field was bare, no wheat, no seed, no green. Only ashen soil, damp with morning dew. The villagers found Gülizar lying there, her hand pressed to the ground, her eyes open but calm. She was breathing, but faintly, as if between worlds. They left her there. No one dared to touch her. That night, the wind carried a whisper through the valley. She gave back what was never hers. And from that moment on, no one spoke her name again. But on nights when the moon was full and silver, travelers passing by the old hill swore they could see a woman walking among invisible wheat. Her hands brushing through the air. And the earth still whispering her name. Years passed. The village forgot her name, though the wind never did. Children grew up hearing half-whispered stories about a woman who talked to the ground. About a cursed field that bloomed under moonlight. And about a voice that could still be heard when the world fell silent. But the truth had not vanished. It had simply gone deeper, back into the soil where it had begun. One night, many seasons later, a traveler wandered through the valley. He was tired, his clothes torn by the wind, his lantern flickering weakly. The moon hung low, silver and sharp. As he reached the hill, he felt something, a hum beneath his feet. As if the land itself was breathing again. He knelt, pressed his hand to the soil, and felt warmth. When he looked up, he saw her. Not in flesh, but as light, soft and shifting, woven with the wind. Her eyes glowed like dawn through morning fog. Her voice was both near and far, carrying through the night like a prayer. "Tell them," she said, "that the earth remembers kindness more than greed. Tell them that life is not something we own, it is something we borrow." The traveler bowed his head. "Who are you?" he whispered. "I am what remains when the seed has done its work," she said. "I am the whisper in the field, the memory of those who listened." The wind rose, swirling around her form, scattering petals that glowed like embers. And for a moment, the field came alive again. Golden wheat shimmering under a moon that looked almost like the sun. Then, just as suddenly, it was gone. Only the hum remained, fading softly into the night. The traveler stood in silence for a long time. And then he took a handful of soil, holding it close to his heart. When he returned to the world beyond the valley, he told everyone who would listen. About the woman who spoke to the earth. The seed that remembered. And the field that whispered back. Some laughed. Some wept. But a few, just a few, began to walk barefoot again at sunrise. Listening to the quiet songs beneath their steps. And so the story lived on. For every time someone spoke gently to the wind. Or thanked the soil for what it gave. Gülizar's name stirred again in the breath of the earth. Not as a curse. But as a blessing. Sheaf of rice, the earth listens to those who love it.